So this past weekend, I watched the UEFA Champions League between Liverpool and Real Madrid. But the reason I watched it is not similar to the reason other people watched it. Other people, well, most people watched it because they are true legitimate fans of European football. And then you had others who watched it maybe because they're spectators and they want to learn more about that particular league. Then you had others who was watching it just because everybody else was watching it. But the main reason I was watching it, because it's a possibility that the Seattle Sounders is going to face the winner of this match in the FIFA Club World Cup. So the main reason that's the main reason I was watching it, because I wanted to see what these two teams are about, and if the Sounders face one of these teams in the FIFA Club World Cup, what is it that we as MLS fans or MLS spectators or just American soccer viewers, what we all should be looking forward to. So the winner of that match was Real Madrid. And the thing I got the most out of Real Madrid is Real Madrid plays real tough defense. That's the main thing that stood out the most to me about Real Madrid. Like, they are real firm on defense. Like, their defense is kind of remnants of how Philadelphia was like earlier in this season. Like when the season first started, like the Philadelphia Union, I mean, their defense was just, it was nearly impossible to score on the Philly defense at one point during the first half of the 2022 MLS regular season. So, is the Sounders going to face Real Madrid in the FIFA Club World Cup? I don't know, because I don't know how the FIFA Club World Cup, I don't know how they do their seedings. I don't know how they do their brackets. I really don't know how the rounds go. I have never watched the FIFA Club World Cup in my entire life. I watched the regular World Cup before. I watched that numerous times. But Club World Cup, I have never watched a Club World Cup in my entire life. So I don't know what to expect. So Seattle Sounders facing Real Madrid. I'm just going to speak that based on a hypothesis, just hypothetically speaking. So what if the Sounders face Real Madrid in the first round? And I hope whoever's in charge of FIFA, Gianni, I forgot the FIFA's commissioner. I know his name is Gianni, but whoever's in charge of the FIFA Club World Cup, I hope we see Sounders Real Madrid in the first round. The reason why us as American soccer viewers, MLS viewers, mainly MLS viewers, because not all American traditional football viewers are MLS viewers. A lot of them really don't care about MLS. They're more so European fans. And the reason why it's like that, because number one, the Big Five, the European leagues, they've been around much longer than MLS. And then it's another thing. It's another reason why Americans are more interested in the European leagues. It's a perception. It's a perception that the European leagues are far better than the MLS. It's a perception that English Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, League One, the perception is that any team from those leagues are far superior than MLS teams. And the reason why I say perception, because I have watched multiple European matches this season. And the reason why I've watched multiple European matches this season, because I want to see if such perception is true. Are the European teams, are the European leagues far better than the MLS teams? And my answer is no. Based on what I've seen with my own eyes, not based on what somebody else have told me, not based on what an American Liverpool fan or an American Manchester United fan or an American Manchester City fan told me. I'm saying this based on what I've seen in my own eyes when I watch these games on ESPN Plus. The European leagues are not far superior. They're not far better than the MLS. Number one, those leagues are slower. Teams in those leagues play much slower. The pace is much slower. Number two, the games are boring. The games are more boring. Look, MLS moves at a faster pace. MLS is more offensive. You see guys taking shots at the goal more often than you see in the European leagues. The European leagues are more so defensive, slower pace. Keep control and keep possession of the ball. Keep the ball on one side of the field for as long as possible, and guys just pass the ball to each other. It seems like they're just trying to run the clock through most of these games instead of attacking. You see, in the MLS, I see more attacking. I see more aggression. Guys trying to score more. The MLS games look more aggressive. MLS players look more aggressive rather than the European teams. The European leagues, they don't look as aggressive. It's just more like a slow pace. It's like you're trying to keep possession of the ball longer than the other team. And it just seems like you're trying to run the clock. And then like after halftime or so, when you get like late to closing the game, then you start to see teams try to attack or score every now and then. But that's just based on what I've seen. This is why based on what I've seen. And this is why I'm glad I'm a neutral person. I'm glad that I'm not an MLS fan. I'm glad that I'm not a English Premier League fan. So when I watch the games, I can watch it without any bias. Without any bias. Even Liga MX. The Liga MX matches, the Liga MX teams are, to me, Liga MX teams are more interesting to watch than the European teams. Because the Liga MX teams, they're also aggressive. Their style of play, the speed of the game in the Liga MX is much faster than the European teams. So for me, that's why, from what I've seen thus far, MLS and Liga MX is more interesting than any European team that I've seen so far. Because MLS, Liga MX, they're more fast-paced. The guys are more aggressive. You see more tackling. You see more pushing and shoving. You see more trash talking. But in the English, it looks boring. It looks like an old man's game. Like the pace is slower. Guys are more focused on keeping possession of the ball on their field, and it's just the pace. It's just a slower pace, and it's more defensive. Instead of it being offensive, guys creating plays, guys creating nice passes for the teams to score, it's more so slower pace, defensive, prevent the other team from scoring. This is why, me personally, I would rather see a guy like Mario Balotelli play in the MLS rather than Lionel Messi. Now, I know both of them are older and they're probably around the same age, but I truly believe that Mario Balotelli's style of play is Hollywood. Mario Balotelli's style of play is box office. And I believe that more people, more Americans, will be attracted to watching the MLS if Mario Balotelli plays in the game, in the league, rather than Lionel Messi. But that's going to be for another monologue, because that's just me as a spectator from what I've seen so far. Now I want to go back to this perception that the English teams, the European teams, are far more superior to the MLS and the Liga MX teams. Because too many times when we have these debates about global football, which league is better, which league is the best, and which league is not, like, there's no real criteria. It's the same issue that we have with college football. If you're a college football fan, you know what I'm talking about. When it comes to the college football playoffs, like, there's no real criteria to determine who is truly the best. The only thing we know that separates some conferences from other conferences is money, is revenue, is market value. And based on my research, I was able to do the same thing for global football, just to bring more clarity about the game, just to bring more clarity. Okay, which leagues are really the top dogs and which leagues are not the top dogs. So when we have these discussions about which league is better than each other, we'll know what level to place them on. So check this out. I created something that's going to help every football fan, whether you're in America, Mexico, England, Brazil, Argentina, Ghana, Japan, wherever you are in the world. I created this criteria that's going to help you, determine what are the big leagues and what are the small leagues. So there's 4 criteria, and this is all based on market value. I call it the power structure criteria. And I got these numbers from transfermarket.us. And these are the value of teams based on their market value. So we are going to determine the best teams or the powerful teams based on their market value, based on how much they are worth. Because if you're an American college football fan, it's similar to how you determine which conferences or which leagues are the best. It's based on their revenue. So that's why you got SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12. Those are considered Power 5 based on the revenue. So in soccer, traditional football, I decided to create something similar to distinguish the power leagues from the amateur leagues. Okay, so the super leagues, these are the leagues that have a market value of $5 billion and above. That is the super league. Then you have the power league. Those are leagues whose market value is between $1 billion and $4 billion. That is the power league. Then your third power, you have major league. The major leagues are those leagues whose market value is between 500 million and 999 million. That is your major league. Then you have the big league, 100 million to 499 million. That is the big league. And then all the leagues whose market value is below 100 million. That is your amateur. I don't care if it's 99.9 million. If you are below 100 million, your market value, if your market value is below 100 million, you're an amateur. I don't care if it's 99.99999. If it's not 100.0 something or 100.1 something and above, you are amateur. So here's the Super League. English Premier League, 9.5 billion market value. This is just market value, not revenue. This is just market value. La Liga, 5.5 billion. Serie A, 5.2 billion. And I believe at one point, Serie A used to be more valuable than La Liga. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, those two leagues got a real competition going on. It's no surprise that English Premier League is the top dog. I mean, come on. So, you got English Premier League. So, Real Madrid is part of La Liga. So, Real Madrid is a super club. Because Real Madrid is part of La Liga, and La Liga is considered a super league based on its market value, Real Madrid is a super club. Now, how about Seattle? What is Seattle part of? Because you see, the MLS is not part of the Super League. So what league is the MLS part of? The MLS is a power league. The MLS market value is 1.13 billion. The MLS is along with Bundesliga of Germany, Ligue 1 of France, the English Football League, which is the relegated league. So the teams in the English Premier League that gets relegated, they join the English Football League. So the English Football League is the second level from the English Premier League. So the MLS is along the English Football League, the English Relegated League. They're along with Brazil's top league, Serie A, Portugal's first tier league, their top league, Liga Portugal, the Netherlands, their top league. I cannot pronounce that word, so I'll just say the Netherlands top league and Super League of Turkey. So Seattle is a power club. So you see, there's not a big difference between Seattle and Real Madrid. Is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. But is it a big difference that many people are trying to make it out to be? No. Real Madrid is your Super League. Real Madrid is part of the Super League. So Real Madrid is a super club. Seattle is part of the Power League. Seattle is a power club. So we'll have a super club going against a power club. And the fact that Seattle is so young and the MLS in general is so young and it hasn't been around as long as La Liga and it's trending upward. It's getting to a point where it's starting to catch up with La Liga. It's almost there with League One. It's almost there with Bundesliga. But the fact that La Liga has been around longer than the MLS and the MLS is just on the second tier, it's a second tier league. It's not third or fourth, but its second tier league is almost to Super League status. It's going to take a couple years, but the fact that it's almost there in a short period of time, that you as an American, that should tell you something. That should tell you something that this league, this Major League Soccer, this MLS, this is a legitimate league. The fact that it's growing so fast in a short period of time, that should tell you that there's much potential in this league. And that if Seattle faces Real Madrid in the Club World Cup, this game could be closer than what many people expect. Because what many people are expecting is for Real Madrid to just blow Seattle out of the park, out of the field. That a lot of people believe that Seattle does not belong on the same field as Real Madrid. But I beg to differ. Just based on the numbers, look at the revenue. And these numbers just based on May of 2022. These numbers are definitely going to change over time. And the MLS is going to continue to expand. So what? Charlotte's expansion fee was like over 325 million. So Las Vegas, their expansion fee is probably going to be in the 500 million. Either somewhere between the 500 and the 700 million. If Charlotte's expansion fee was like 325 million, you already know that Las Vegas, their expansion fee is somewhere between 500 and 700 million, or even above 700 million. Look, the reason why I created this criteria, because it's time for us to stop living based on perception. It's time for us to face reality and accept reality. The reality is this. Yes, La Liga is a more profitable, more valuable, and it is a better league than the MLS. Is it because of skill? No, it's not because of skill. It is because the league has been around longer. So they're supposed to be better. They've been playing the game longer. They are a veteran in this game. But if you sincerely watch European games and then you sincerely watch MLS games and you just focus on the skill, you focus on the talent, you focus on the style of play. European teams are more defensive. They're slower pace. MLS teams are faster paced. They attack more. And when it comes, and the thing that separates great athletes from good athletes, if you want to determine like who's better than the other, it's usually based on speed. This is one of the reasons why they do the 40-yard dash in the NFL draft. Now, are they too excessive with the 40-yard dash? Yes, they are very excessive with it because they use it to determine the overall skill level of a player, which is something that you shouldn't do. But generally speaking, speed is what separates a good team, a great team, from an average team. It's usually speed. And I strongly believe that if the Sounders face Real Madrid in the Club World Cup, speed is what's going to give them an advantage. Because the speed of the MLS is far superior than the European teams. Now, the European teams, based on revenue, based on market value, yeah, they are superior. But when it comes to skill, I don't believe that. When it comes to skill, it's not true. Why do you have European teams constantly recruiting NYCFC players every year? Why do you have European teams constantly recruiting New England Revolution players every year? Why do you have Mexican teams recruiting LA Galaxy and LAFC players every year? If this league wasn't skillful, if this league did not produce great players, nobody will be coming to the States. Nobody will be coming to this league to recruit. So just think about that. Even MLS goalkeepers are being recruited by other leagues from throughout the world. The MLS has turned itself into a football epicenter where people from different parts of the globe can come to the MLS, develop into great players, and then go on to other parts of the world and be a valuable resource. It's time for us to end the perception that the European teams are far superior than the MLS. Because I try my hardest to watch as many football, MLS and European, whenever I can. And every time I watch a European match, the pace is much slower. And their style of play looks more old school, traditional. They're more focused on defense. It's not as exciting to me. It looks more boring. MLS, it's more offensive. The speed is much faster. The players are much more aggressive. You see more tackling. You see more pushing. You see more shoving. The players are tougher. That's just from what I've seen. Someone who's not an MLS fan and someone who's not a European football fan. Somebody who's just a spectator. So I don't know who's in charge of creating these matches for the FIFA Club World Cup, but I hope in the first round we see the Seattle Sounders and Real Madrid. And this is something that I'm going to get into in another monologue whenever we approach the Club World Cup. Because Sounders, you are going to be the one to end the perception that MLS teams can't compete with European clubs. Sounders, you are the face of the MLS. You were the one that ended the MLS losing streak in the CONCACAF Champions League. You are the first team to win the CONCACAF Champions League in its rebranded edition. You were the one that showed the Mexican teams that the MLS is a real league and that this is a new era of soccer in America. You were the one that told the Mexicans that, Seattle. So now you are going to have to be the one again to show the European clubs and people around the whole world that the MLS is for real. Now, some of them already do know. Most of them already do know because they constantly recruit MLS players. But from soccer fans throughout the world, it's still a perception, even in America, there's still a perception that European clubs are far superior than the MLS clubs. And you're going to be the one, Sounders. You're going to have to be the one. You have to win this. You're going to have to be the one to put that to bed. Anyhow, I'm going to talk about that on another monologue.
respected, man. Say get a pamphlet from your church and get some Henny till you blurred and pour some liquor for your man them in the dirt. Say I don't plan to be on earth for much longer, cause I'm a target. My target audience started calling me conscious, but I'm a star like my caller ID, responding consecutive classic content, conjuring up the continent, wave dropping like a poncho. This shit is in my pocket, started ground up like carpet. Spend today with the sinners and tomorrow with the prophets.